Favourite thing? Well, it's great being able to work in Parliament. It's an amazing place to work, but it's actually about getting things done. So just actually being able to speak up for my constituents. I've had debates about autism, which was raised to me as an issue. I've had debates about Xanax, and I've been able to speak up about things like education funding, about NHS funding, about things that people need are important to them, about some areas that I would never have dreamt about sort of being an expert in. So it's been having a platform to be able to articulate my constituents' concerns.
If the Treasury miraculously found a spare £1 billion and it was up to you how to spend it, but you could only spend it on one thing, what would you choose and why?
Well, 1 billion doesn't get you a lot. For me, I've mentioned this before, putting it into education. I think so many of the issues that are important to today are linked to education. If you don't get a good start in life, it has such an impact on you further down the line. So making sure that kids got the best education they could would be important to me, so that's what I'd spend it on.
Now, given the rapid evolution of technology, it's possible that at some point in the future the Directorate might be able to vote directly for bills going through the Houses of Parliament. Would you see that as a good or a bad thing? And in such a scenario, what would you see the role of an MP?
I think it would be a good thing. I think we already have it now to a certain degree. We have e-petitions, so if people put more than 1,000 names to a petition, more than 100,000 names to a petition, that petition gets debated in Parliament. In fact, we've got one this afternoon. In fact, they happen all the time. And that means a subject that would never have had the chance of getting debated because we wouldn't have had parliamentary time does get debated. So I think we need to see more of that, and we need to make as best use of technology as possible. Whether there would still be a role for MPs, I think there still would be, because I think not everybody is comfortable with digital media. In fact, many people come to me who don't know about using the internet, which I know is quite surprising to many people. And I think there would still be issues that you'd be able to raise as an MP, or be able to represent people who wouldn't have, say, English as a first language, or wouldn't be au fait with all the social graces that go along with Facebook and Twitter and other social media that go on. So I think there still would be a role for an MP.
Do you favour the carrot or the stick? Is it better to reward people for good behaviour or to punish them for bad behaviour? For example, with the use of plastic bags or the consumption of sugary drinks?
It's a bit of both. I mean, I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but I think you need to give people incentives to stop them doing certain things. But if the incentives don't work, then you need to use the stick. But I'd always favour the carrot first, because I think you need to win the argument rather than impose things on people, if that's at all possible. But sometimes you do need the stick. So as you mentioned, the issue of plastic bags, before you'd have to sort of you'd have as many as you wanted, and you'd have a room full of plastic bags that you'd then have to sort of bin, which will always be bad for the environment. And plastics generally are bad for the environment, so we need to be getting away from that. But if that isn't working, then you do need to look at sort of having some sort of penalty. So with plastic bags, it was the 5p charge. With sugary drinks, again, I mean, that's an issue. I think you need to sort of think about trying to take sugar out of, reduce the number of sugary drinks that are being consumed by young people. Now, whether you go via putting a cap on advertising, or whether you go via making drinks more expensive, I'm not sure what the answer is. But we know what the problem is. The problem is that kids that are around today are going to be classified as being obese in the future, and we need to deal with that problem in a whole myriad of sort of solutions, and making sugary drinks less attractive and not so widely available is one of the solutions.
Now, we note the publicity surrounding the use of WhatsApp groups by politicians in Parliament. Do you think it's a good or a bad thing for democracy for MPs to use WhatsApp groups, and why?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, because I think you're able to communicate with your colleagues very easily in a very informal way, in a very secret setting, so you're able to have conversations that you wouldn't normally have, especially if your colleagues are many miles away. So I think the increase in communication, being able to do it freely in a private sort of setting is certainly beneficial. If you're going to ask me how many groups I belong to, I think I belong to 4, but I know some MPs belong to many, many more WhatsApp groups. And I found them very useful. You can ask for advice about things. You can say, hey, I've got this problem, my constituency, is anybody else got the same problem? And then somebody will say, oh yes, I had that problem, this is what I did about it. So it can be very informative, and you might need that information very quickly. So I think the WhatsApp groups do work.
Which MP from another party do you most admire, and why?
That's a tough one. Which MP from another party I'd most admire, and why? I think, okay, it's difficult. I mean, from the Tories, I think Ken Clarke, because he's been, at the moment he's being sort of vilified by his party for being a Remainer, but he's been consistently supportive of the EU for many, many years, and those are his views. He's stuck by them, and he's making sure that those views are heard in Parliament. So he's had the courage of his convictions, and I hope that I am able to have the courage of my convictions if I'm an MP as long as he's been. So yeah, I think Ken Clarke at the moment for the Tories. There are other MPs as well who from other parties, but he's the one that stands out.